Aliens. Why did it have to be aliens? Hey there! Welcome to Hot Takes, the show where we defend the underrated and attack the overrated. I'm your host today, Adam Goff. Sometimes a movie will come out and it breaks the mold. It'll be an icon from its acting to its music to its storytelling. It'll be beloved and stand as a testament to its own self-sufficiency. Until it's dug up again. But are the makers of Indiana Jones 4 grave robbers or archaeologists? Resoundingly, the internet agrees that Indiana Jones 4 is an atomically terrible cash grab banking on a recognizable character. But I dare to disagree with the masses. And before I go see Indy McFly go back in time to beat the Nazis and kiss his mom, I'd like to revisit the best Indiana Jones movie. The one with Shia LaBeouf in it. We open on a prairie dog in the desert. Why? I don't know. The Atomic Cafe establishes the Cold War setting. Russians threaten Indy into finding a weird magnet coffin. His buddy Mac betrays him, but Indy escapes into a weird town where there's nuclear testing. He hides in a fridge and dies. Just kidding, he survives. Indy is interrogated about it, then goes back to teaching where he's fired because the FBI is looking into him. He meets Shia LaBeouf. Henry Jones III. He's Indy's son, but we don't know that yet. Mud gives Indy plot point 1, then starts a greaser fight. Indy figures out a Mayan riddle and they travel by map to a Peruvian prison. More clues, they go to a dungeon and kill some natives, that's great. Then they find a magnetic crystal skull. They want to return it to the City of Gold where it belongs because magnets are too dangerous in the wrong hands. They're captured by the Russians again, who have also captured their friend Ox and Mud's mom Marion. Marion is Indy's old flame. Get it? Cool. They all escape and Marion tells Indy about his son. They're captured again. They escape again. Ants eat a guy. Marion drives them into 3 waterfalls. They go to the City of Gold where it turns out Mayans secretly still live, but that doesn't matter apparently. Some puzzle solving later and they find a chamber filled with crystal skeletons. Oh, by the way, Max said he was just pretending about the betrayal at the beginning and he's actually on their side, so he's been hanging out with the gang. Anyway, they return the skull to its skeleton and Max says psych and betrays them again. The Russians are back and the gang runs away as the main bad girl Russian asks the skellies for all the knowledge or whatever. They blend together into an alien smoothie until they're one dude who kills her. The gang makes it to the outskirts of the city to see it flood and a UFO flies into the sunset. Indy marries Marion, which must be weird for Mud, but he gets revenge by almost stealing Indy's hat, although Indy stops him, so I guess Mud just sucks at doing stuff other than swinging with monkeys.
Hey guys, Drew here to set the record straight. While Adam's out here busy defending this movie has a lot of flaws and criticisms, and to not address them would be a crime. One of the most contentious topics is the overuse and overdoneness of the CGI. We see all sorts of animals, props, vehicles, set pieces just scattered around CGI, and Indiana Jones historically has been a set piece film. They use handmade sets and costumes, and a lot of that being reused by CGI is just leaves a bad taste in your mouth. There's some other scenes that just didn't quite hit the mark, as well as the plot as a overall can be a little over the top and a little bit more radical compared to the rest of the film. Anyways, the real biggest issue is that this movie came out 19 years after the last one, and the fact that it adds so little to the Indiana Jones franchise leaves a sour note for all the negatives. Anyways, I'll let Adam get back to you to his futile attempt to kind of save this movie from redemption.
Sometimes I get a little lost in the dialogue, like the mixing isn't quite top-notch. But that kind of stuff can be difficult when there's so much action and music going on, so I can give it a pass. What's harder to push aside is the weird Wilhelm scream placement in the middle of the motorcycle library chase. But even that, I can forgive. The CGI though, that's unfortunate. And it lasts throughout the whole movie, so I can't quite ignore it. At the very least, they front-load it, starting the movie with a prairie dog that screams new, unfamiliar technology. The magnet dust, the termites, the aliens. If nothing else, it's consistent. Moving on. I like seeing Mud and Indy become cohorts, but I felt I needed a better reason for Shia to join Indy. A deeper motivation that's more obvious from the start, because obviously Mud wants to spend time with his father. but we don't know that yet, and it'd be a great place for some facade. On that point, the scene with quicksand, dry sand pit, may have been a little pointless. The one where Indy finds out Mud is his son. But I think it has great dramatic and comedic moments in it that make it worthwhile. Cool. You know what else is cool? Aliens. I love how underplayed the alien presence is in this film. It's supernatural, yeah, but at the end of the day, it's all still just artifacts, crystal skeletons and skulls and... Wait, no, what is that? No, get that out of here, get it out of here, no! Get him the hell out of here! In general, I find the third act to be weaker than the first two, but all of the loose ends are still tied up, the bad guys are killed due to their own hubris, and all the personal arcs are fulfilled. I'm into it. Which leads me into... Coming out the gate, the scene is set well to tell a Cold War story, and the villains are no longer Nazis, but are instead Russians, adapting with the times. Not only that, but there's a secondary villain whose relationship with Indy is fun and interesting. Mac. I'm talking about Mac the Flip-Flopper. Sure, I may not like how he's a good guy, then a bad guy, then a good guy, then a bad guy, but underneath all the twists, there's a solid concept for a personal villain. It's part of what makes this movie fun to watch. And I like the actual heist of it too. By the way, I'm going to go ahead and call the plot of every Indiana Jones movie a heist now. Tell me I'm wrong. I like the movie's emphasis on South American archaeology. It may have been interesting to immerse in the culture a bit more, but conceptually I think it's a strong take. Now, the actual artifact they're heisting leaves a bad taste in a lot of people's mouths, but I've found that when they introduce the paranormal, telepathic aspects of the skull so early in Act 2, it worked for me. I accepted the leaps in logic. Until the actual alien forms at the end. But even so, the blender scene was pretty cool. But you know, sci-fi is really just another type of fantasy. And from what I understand, that's already been a part of the films. But albeit mostly in a religious context in former installments. But I mean, if they've already confirmed God and ghosts as canon, why not aliens? Starting at the beginning.
A very good place to start.
The first scene wastes no time getting into Russian intrigue. I don't know what the hell's going on. Compels me though. We get a timely verification of the villain's identity along with Indy's attitude about it with "Drop dead, comrade." And the quips don't stop coming. The north, south, east, west joke really landed for me in the same vein as the Game Grumps 1, 2, 3, 4 bit.
1, 2, 3.
The warehouse scene is full of tension, making it a roller coaster of catharsis as Indy gains the upper hand, then is immediately betrayed. Call me a fool, but the betrayal of Mac caught me by surprise. Then again, I was shocked by the twist in Coco, and apparently everyone else saw it coming. Guess I just like enjoying movies. The fight slaps, but what really gets me is the literal ticking clock. It's a perfectly paced heightening of tension, as is the introduction of a random Aryan Russian guy going to town on Indy. That guy has had enough non-verbal setup to be appropriately menacing, until he has a little G-force snap resting on Indy's shoulder. Indy makes it out of there, proving he's still got his muster. You know what else proves it? Surviving a nuclear blast in a fridge! I don't care if it's unrealistic, it's awesome! It's a stellar example of showing instead of telling the dichotomy of Indy and Mutt when the latter steals a bottle of something, probably non-alcoholic, right? Like sarsaparilla, off the server's platter, only for Indy to immediately return it. There's more quippy Indy dialogue, letting him show off for Shia.
More than.
Don't know. Maybe FBI?
Come quietly, Dr. Jones.
Make that KGB.
Mutt's impulsiveness is put to great use in A Great Escape, but it's too easy. Until we get to the sandpit. A perfect time to reveal that Mutt is Indy's son, right? I don't know. I thought it worked. I got a good chuckle out of Indy's 180 on how much should be raised.
He's a good kid, Marion. You should get off his back about school.
He's your son.
Why the hell didn't you make him finish school?
Somehow, this scene is a perfect comedic beat. I love Indy's Ophiophobia, and I feel terrible for the snake who is most assuredly dead now. They're rescued, which can only mean one thing. Captured by the Russians. The jungle is a good battle backdrop, and they have fun with the concept during the wacky races on jeeps. I'm glad they give at least a little context as to why Mutt can use a sword, namely Marion referencing his fencing lessons indirectly. It's comfortably subtle and not too on the nose. It's been a while since we've had another allegiance change by Mac, so it's time for him to join the indie gang. I don't really mind, I just wish I wasn't such an easy stooge. I fell for Mac's ruse again, hook, line, and sinker. The remainder of the action sequence is fun to watch, but my next favorite writing moment is in the Mayan temple with the disappearing stairs. It's another clever ticking clock causing tension. My favorite. Compliments to the chef. Of course, we get another Mac double cross, as that is a given. And once the dust settles and the aliens are content, we finish off the film with a wedding. A true comedy. We're left with a thread of what may be to come when Mutt picks up Indy's hat. Haha, just kidding, it's subverted. Indy's not ready to pass over the whip just yet. The entire epilogue segment is well paced. I'm not left wanting for more, nor do I feel that I've overstayed. Overall, not a perfect execution of the concepts, but a pleasure to watch anyway. I'll give props to the offbeat nature of the Prairie Dog opening. I know he threw some people off, but he's a good prairie dog. His name's Ralph, and if you took the time to get to know him... Never mind, I'm getting too emotional and off topic. It's an eye-catching opener. The opening scene is also helped by an impromptu civilian/military drag race, with Elvis's "You ain't nothing but a hound dog," working to create a light-hearted, time-setting joy. Something felt a little off about the lighting throughout this movie, and it took me a while to figure out what was going on. Eventually, I realized it gave me the charm of old black and white movies, with glowing skin and halos in the hair. And then later in the Peruvian cave, there's more interesting lighting that seems best suited for black and white. I know someone else already re-edited the movie to improve it, but can we get eyes on a black and white edit too? Tangent over, back to the analysis. Every time the indie motif shows up, it does its job in spades. During every triumphant getaway, we know Indy will accomplish the impossible, almost as if he too can hear and is inspired by his own theme. Not to give one theme too much credit though, the entire score is great and old school. It's refreshing and marketably noticeable in the modern age. Also giving me throwback vibes, the use of travel by map, trademark. It gets us from the US to Peru in no time. Then, just in case you thought the film was done with its silhouettes, ba-bam! With a backlight on Indy and the Russian's tent, it seems to represent how the character of Indiana Jones looms larger than the villains who think they have him captured. I've decided I'm going to do this section in the style of Cinema Wins, so here we go. This random town Indy takes shelter in is way too colorful, immediately telling us something's off. Then, oop, there's the mannequins. It's so surreal and I love it. I didn't know this was directed by David Lynch. The atom bomb visuals are so great, and the explosion brings us another good villain death. Shia LaBeouf! Hey, that's Shia LaBeouf! The chase is a fresh kind of car pursuit for me. I like how they're squeezing through all the tight spaces. The acting in the Peruvian prison by the inmates is really good. I like the brief scene of dancing Russians, but I wish it was a full 2-minute dance sequence, The Cowards. I like the truck escape scene and following pursuit through the jungle, but we should beware giving a sword to Shia LaBeouf. He's dangerous enough as it is.
Shia LaBeouf.
This termite, or ants, scene is the one scene I actually remember from seeing this in the theaters all those years ago. One of the coolest deaths in all of cinema, IMO. The carpet of termites also makes for a great, threatening fighting ground. The menacing/non-menacing Russian foosball figure is finally dead, and it was awesome. So many cool deaths across all the Indiana Jones movies. Maybe we should do a video about that. The waterfalls are funny. I'm starting to not care how unbelievable these sequences are because they're a delight. And not in a laughing at way, but in a laughing with way. It's finally a temple dungeon crawl, the bread and butter of adventure movies. The eye in the statue shocked me, as well as the silent, earthy entrance of the natives to the city. I love the set design of the crystal skeleton throne room. The skeletons are admittedly unsettling. The escape from the temple is cool with the upwards vortex water spout. I like the mostly quiet nature of the temple collapse, windstorm, and UFO rising.
Quiet, quiet.
Good credits over still shot, classic style. No post-credit either. There are a couple of themes that run deep through the movie. Towards the beginning, after Indy is fired from his professor position, he reminisces over the death of his father and his friend Marcus. Later, he meets his own son, a high school dropout, who pretty easily takes up the habits of an adventure archaeologist. What's the connective thread? Legacy. From father to son to son. The thought of Mutt living up to the shadow of his father looms as an emotional tease throughout the story, and although I haven't yet seen the Dial of Destiny, I'm hoping to see Mr. the Beef himself show up to finish off this setup. The final theme is similar to the last one, family. It is subtly implied, but the plot of returning the skull to its family parallels Indy regaining his own after seemingly losing everything. Neither the artifact nor the treasure hunter are whole until they are returned with those to whom they belong. This is my favorite Indiana Jones movie. Is it also the only one I've seen? Yes, but that doesn't detract from its importance to me. I first saw it in theaters with my family. This will always be a family film to me in every sense of the word, and for that I'm giving it a pedestal of its own. Others may be afraid to look at the brilliant light of this film, afraid that their faces will burn off from sheer witness. I wish there was some kind of cinema reference I could throw in here as a joke. I just can't think of any. But I have the courage to always call out greatness when I see it. If you want to support my cause in doing so, I implore you to like the video if you liked it, to subscribe if you want to, and to always return the skull to the Mayans. I'm not from Indiana, my name isn't Jones. Just a man from Tulsa, the only home I've ever known. I can't use a whip and I'm not afraid of snakes. I'm not the hero of your story, I'm Oklahoma Jay.